Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Passionately Speaking, our weekly public speaking training call. And tonight, at the request of Katrina, we are going to talk about how to organize your speech. Now, I don't mean your speech itself because we know we have a system to do that. But what about a system for organizing the speaking engagements? Now, some of you that might come easy, you might have already done it, and some of you no, you haven't done it. And all you're doing is getting speaking engagements going and not keeping track of them. And that could be a mistake. You see, we want to keep track of all of our speaking engagements for several reasons. Number one, because just like getting customers, isn't it easier to get a speaking engagement from an organization that's already heard you speak than from a brand new one that's never heard of you before? Right? The answer is yes. Now, the dilemma that us as speakers always have to deal with is organizations naturally, your name probably comes up. And here's what they say. Oh, she's already been here to speak. Oh, we've already heard her speak. It could have been a year ago, right? Most speakers, like you're taught, have a signature talk and you give it over and over and over again. So they feel like once they've had you, that they don't necessarily need you again. You've been here, we heard her spoke. They're looking for someone new all the time. But what if in a year's time you called them up because you have this brilliant, beautiful spreadsheet where you're recording every single speech, and I'll get into that detail in a moment. But what if you called them up and did your follow up? Remember the fortunes in the follow up? And what about if you followed up and said, hey, Mary, remember me? I spoke last year on XYZ. I have a brand new speech called ABC that I believe will be interest to your members. Remember, we've got to please the membership of the organizations, not so much the president, not so much yourself, but really giving something to the members. That's what most either presidents or sometimes there's a program director of the organization or whatever, whoever, sometimes the VP seeks out speakers, but whoever that person is, you want to make sure that they know that it's for the membership. Who is it for?
Members.
Membership.
The membership. And that's going to at least get them to open their ears so they hear you out and not all of a sudden say, well, you already spoke at this organization. Hello, a year ago. So you say and something really nice and enticing that's totally different from your particular signature talk. And you know what? When that happens, guess what? Now you have two signature talks because now you can take that same speech and call everybody on the list if it applies to them. So keep that in mind. That's one of the reasons that we want to keep track. So I'm just giving you some reasons, some benefits of doing the extra work to keep track, right? The second reason I like to keep track, okay, so one is to, go back and get those clients. But two, the reason why I would keep track is because I often would give referrals to my clients. So a great organization, you might ask me, well, I'm looking for, this organization. I go down my list. I spoke to them. I tell you, here's the contact information. Here's who you talk to. Tell them I sent you. Boom. Right? Now you just increased, you helped everybody out. You helped your client out or a fellow speaker. You helped the organization out. Another reason is this, and this is something I encourage you as speakers to do, and that is get a speaker soulmate. Now, what is a speaker soulmate? A speaker soulmate is a fellow speaker that's pretty much equal to you. Probably anybody in this room, anybody on these Zoom calls would be a great speaker soulmate for you because they're speaking you're speaking. So, what you do is you find out who it is, who it resonates with. And Katrina, you've already kind of did this with Peggy and Tommy, right? You've already collaborated, but this is something a little different. So now it's usually just one because you can only have one soulmate. You can't have you could have three or four, but then it gets messy, right? It gets messy because then who do you give the speaking engagement to? So I recommend until you know what till you've perfected this idea to just have one. And what you do is you get together once a month, minimum once a month, either by Zoom or in person is better if they're local. And you get together, brief 30 minutes tops, and you share speaking engagements. Because remember what I said in step number one, most people, they say, oh, we've already had Katrina talk. So they've kind of written you off anyway, at least until a year. So guess what? Now that's prime gold for another speaker friend of yours, right? I just got done speaking at blah, blah, blah here, you know, and they give it to you. And guess what? They do the same thing. Has to be give and take, right? So what I did with my speaker and soulmate, and I think Renee's the only one that knows who this is, and this is Jill Lublin, right? Renee? Oh, Renee must not be with us. Anyway, and so what we'd do is I would say, I got something. She would say, I got something. And then we would share. So we wouldn't share if the other person didn't have anything. If I came in the call and said, you know what, I don't have anything today. Either she felt like she could share or not. We would tab it up to make sure it's fair. Because it's a collaboration. It's a soulmate. It's a love connection. You don't want to be unfair about this and take a bunch of engagements and not give anything, right? And you don't want to give it if you're not getting either. So we just go, but when I knew I had the call, I would look, I would search and look. And you got to be legitimate. They got to be legitimate speaking engagements, not something that you did 10 years ago. That doesn't count or amount to much. But, stuff you just did. Hey, do. And it's a lot of fun. So those are the three reasons why you want to keep track and keep this organized. But now we're going to talk about how to do that, how to organize and how to keep track. Before we do, let me ask you, who is already kind of keeping some sort of track of all of their speaking engagements?
Some sort of.
Kind of, sort of. Yeah, a little sort of. So I want to hear from you. I'll give you, kind of my system, and then I want to hear what you're doing. You might have a system, and you might need to improve on it, or you might share some gold that could help the rest of us, even me, improve on ours. Okay, so it's all good. I'm glad you're keeping track. Okay, so when you get a speaking engagement, now I'm going to do the paper trail because I grew up with paper, and then I'll give you the electronic version of it because I know we're all going paperless, right? But I like paper. So this is an older version. I don't do this anymore. I do it more just online in files in my computer. But the very first thing I do is I have a sheet that's called engagement sheet. And you make, oh, Dr. Luana's coming in. Oh, I guess we have to acknowledge. Oh, I'm so sorry. Hello. Hello, Dr. Luana.
Dr. Luana.
Hello, everyone.
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. We said our final farewell yesterday, and I'm okay.
Wow, that's a big blow, I know. Is
Mhm.
it the son you live with or the another son?
No, this was my baby son. So I've
Oh,
lost my firstborn and I've lost my baby son.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I wish there were words to say.
There's
Okay,
not really words that anyone can say. I just know that he's in a better place now than where the direction he was going as an adult. So,
got it.
mm,
Got it. Well, I hope we can take your mind off of it a little bit today for the next 30 minutes or so.
That's why I decided to pop in.
Good. Well, thank you.
Mhm.
All right. So we're talking about and we just started, so you're in the right place. So we're talking about systems for keeping track of speaking engagements. And the first one, like I said, it's going to be a paper system. If you like paper, works great. If you want to do it on the computer, I'm going to tell you how to do that in a little bit. But the first thing I do is I've created an engagement sheet. And you want to create your own. Um, just on Word, whatever. I have the organization, contact, all the normal stuff, email, cell phone, the time you're going to speak, how long is the speech, and I even added, is it a virtual speech or is it a live speech? Are you getting paid for it? Are you not? When is the speech? Is it during breakfast, lunch, or dinner? Because that might make a big difference, right? Are you speaking while people are eating? Or is it before lunch or after lunch? You need to find out this kind of information to help you mentally prepare for giving it. Because I've been surprised oftentimes where I didn't even get to eat, right? Everybody's eating. I have to speak during lunch and I don't even get to eat my lunch, you know? So prepare yourself. I would have ate earlier or whatever. Anyway, just get as much information. Of course, location, address, number of attendees. This is information we've already talked about, but number of attendees. Now, and are they men? Are they women? Are they both? Are they professionals? Just whatever questions in your industry you need to ask is what you need to have on this sheet so you remember to ask it. Now, if they tell you, people usually embellish the number of people that are going to be there. I'm going to just tell you from experience. So if they say 20, it's probably 15. If they say 7, it's probably 5 or less. Just know that. They're not going to say 10 and 10 are going to be there. You're going to prepare for whatever it is. But now, if someone tells me, and I don't mean to be, you know, unless they're really high powered, oftentimes I don't go. I turn down the speaking engagement because the last time I didn't, because I thought it was a high power mastermind group. Woo! Yeah, we usually get 7 to 10 people there. There was four. And I go, darn it, darn it. But thank goodness it wasn't far. It was really within my own next city over. So it wasn't a bad deal. But in the early days, I've driven as far as San Diego, which is a 2-hour drive for me, for less than 7 people at a restaurant. It wasn't even a nice meeting room. So be careful. For now, just speak anywhere you can. But after a while, if it's really a long distance and you're not getting paid and it's only a few people, just decide maybe you could do it virtually. And I've done that where I've just come in virtually. Okay. So just be aware that 7 doesn't mean 7. You got it? It's usually that or less. So this is my experience. You might have a different experience. Good for you. But that's been my experience. Unless you're putting on the event, and certainly you know exactly the number of people that are going to be there. Okay. But when it's networking, you just kind of never know because they don't have an RSVP oftentimes. It's just like our Christian meeting we had this morning with Katrina. One time we had 12 and today we had 8. But last week we had 4, right? You never know. You just don't know. We couldn't promise the speaker, anything like that because it just varies. Okay. Add the title of your talk. Add the title of your talk and the amount of time that you have to talk because you might have your signature talk. You might do it in 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or you might extend it out to an hour. So just the name of the talk does not tell you how long the talk is or how long you might speak. Because remember the sandwich, so maybe you're going to make it smaller or you're going to make it bigger, right? Because you can do that. Whether or not you're going to hand out handouts and what handouts are you going to hand out, I would keep it in this file, right? Any comments? What are you going to use for your free gift, your giveaway? Do you have a book that you're going to give away? A gift card that you're going to give away? You have to think about that stuff ahead of time. You have to ask. So I have this sheet out when when they want to either hire me or have me come and speak. So I know all the questions right then, and I just fill it in. If I don't have it handy for some reason, fill it in later. You can always email them if you have questions. So that's how it starts. Now, I attach in the file any communication that I have with them, any emails that go back and forth. And if you could see, like, this is a packet of emails. Yes, I know, and paper. But I just do that because I want to keep track of their emails in one spot. And any other thing, the handouts and anything that relates to their speaking to the speaking engagement. Now, if it's a speaking engagement, I use again color codes. So I use purple for my speaking engagements. I don't do these anymore. I do them all on the computer. These are old. You can see this is from 2021, right? And I put the date and I put the name. Now, the reason why I'm going over the folder with you, because guess what? This is exactly the same kind of folder, see, that you're going to use in the computer, should you decide to do it in the computer. It's the same thing. So I would have a folder for speaking engagements. And then each speaking engagement, I have it labeled by the date and the organization. Okay. Then I go in there, and that's when I will make copies and put all of the email in there. I put my sheet in there, all that I need in there, and I save it. Doesn't in there though. But before I go to the next step, I just want, when I was doing these folders, I would make yellow be anything that was like Zoom or webinars or anything like that. I do a different color. And then I got real smart at one time, and I put a checklist on the back of on the front of the folder. And the checklist is everything that I need to do for the speaking engagement. All right. So first thing was speaking engagement form, which I just showed you. Create a purple folder, which I just showed you, because I would give that to my assistant. I used to have a live assistant before COVID for years, right? I've been in business 22 years. So I had a live assistant probably at least 15 of those years. So I would just give it to her. Enter on Arvee's calendar, right? Make sure it was in my calendar, right? Then 2 days before the engagement, call and confirm the contact. Print introduction. That's my speaker introduction. Print handouts. Print a map quest. We don't do that anymore. But all that stuff, I could just give it to my assistant and have her handle it and take care of it, right? So if you need a checklist, make a checklist. If you can leave it outside the computer and then add it inside. I just like, the folder would walk around, the folder would move around. 2 days before it, she would have this stuff done, put the folder and the handouts in front of me, right? And then the day before, she would pack it all away in a bag for me, not a paper bag, but like my speaker bag, right? I had a speaker bag, right? And she'd put the candy in there or the giveaway in there and all of that. So we'd always have it. Then after the speaking engagement, guess what? We have to enter the cards into your CRM. We have to send a thank you email. And then I would always send the host a thank you card, right? So look at all the tasks. I mean, there's a lot of tasks that I would do for one speaking engagement. Okay. Now, one other task that's not on here. And that is I would had a spreadsheet and I would put it on the spreadsheet. It just an Excel spreadsheet, and I wouldn't do it, but my assistant would do it. And I would just put at the bottom the date, what the organization, everything that I had in here in this folder, I'd put on that spreadsheet. Everything but the details, the contact person, the email, the phone number, the name of the speaking engagement. I wouldn't put the address, but I might put the city, that I had to go to Rancho or I had to go to LA because if you're asking me for a speaking engagement and, and you're in LA and you may not want one here, at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Friday morning, right? Or then maybe you might. So it would be important to add at least this city. Okay, so that's kind of the folders. Now, how would you do that online? Like I said, you'd create a folder just like you would here, but just it's online and you just store everything in the folder. The advantage of having a physical folder when you go to the speaking engagement is that you have, and of course, you're going to enter the information in your phone. That's a given. It's not even on there because it's a given. When I first get contact with them, I put their information in the phone. Okay. And then I put it under speaking engagements in my phone. So I have it here and I have it there. And but anyway, one of the advantages of having a folder is, and this happened to me once, I was driving around and I couldn't find the address. I mean, it was like weird. And I called the number of the person that I got the speaking engagement from in my phone. Okay, I had their contact information. I called them, no answer, no answer. I'm getting panicky, right? So I opened my folder and I saw a flyer because I kept everything in there. They sent me a flyer, and here's some of the speaking again. I'll show you this in a minute. But I saw a flyer and I called another contact name that was on the flyer. And they answered the phone and they said, "Oh, the streets are east and west." So I was going on one and it was actually over here, same name as street, but it went the other way. And then I got there and everything was fine. So if I didn't have that flyer, because I wouldn't have on your phone. Now, if you have a laptop or tablet, yes, but on your phone, you're not going to take an image probably of the flyer and all the emails that you've, taken care of. You might have some of the emails on there, but you're not going to have that flyer. Might not have some other stuff, right? So that's up to you. The phones are pretty powerful now. Maybe if you saved all your emails, you could see that attachment and that would work. When of course, in 2019, we didn't have the power of the phone as much as we do now. Okay. The key is that you want to keep track of speaking engagements, however way you do it. If you don't do individual folders, but just put it on a big spreadsheet because it's gold. You want to call them back in a year or so and let them know that you have a new speaking engagement that you believe their membership will benefit from. All right? That's the number one reason. It's a lot easier to get a speaking engagement of people that already know you than to have to get a new one where people don't or never heard of you or heard you speak. Another idea is this. A lot of organizations, remember, have sister and brother organizations. So don't just stop at the one. You can always call back if they say they're not interested or they don't, they don't have, your topic anymore, or whatever. You could say, well, do you know of another, do you have sister or brother organizations that might be interested in it? I did that once and I spoke to, I don't know, five. I got one speaking engagement turned into five. And I was talking about networking. I didn't even talk about, they wanted networking. I didn't even talk about public speaking. Now, because I wasn't on my topic, I didn't get any clients from it. You got to be careful of that. But that's what they wanted. So sometimes that's going to happen to you. They're going to ask for something else. But be aware that something else may not lead you, or them, I mean, to your business, to what you do. So let's take Katrina, for example. So she deals with, helping married couples stay married, really, right? But what if someone wanted her to talk about teenagers? Well, she's a mother, she's gone through it, she could talk about it, but it's not going to lead to necessarily to the business that she wants because she doesn't want to work with teenagers. She wants to work with, right? She wants to work with the husbands and wives. Mainly wives is her target market. Got it? So just be aware of that. All right, so let's hear some of the systems that you all are using. I want to hear. So I know Carol, you said you have some sort of a kind of a system for tracking. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, Arvee, my system or systems have parts of what you've mentioned, but it's here and it's there. It's not organized. So some of it is paper, some of it is digital, and that I'm getting, the information that I need, but I need to bring it all together into one place. And so that it's much more accessible and doesn't have me panicking when a speaking engagement is coming up and it's like, oh, where's all the information that I need? And I guess one of the things in everything that you've mentioned is as well is to bring in, the world of online summits as well as face to face, because it's a little different for both of those areas.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
So even if in the past, like it's all over the place, just start now with
yeah,
the next speaking engagement. Decide whether you're going to go paperless or you're going to have folders, and just do be consistent.
yeah.
Nothing's, neither one is wrong, paper or digital, but just do one of them and be consistent. Otherwise, it becomes too much work. You write it down, then you put it in the computer, and then
Yeah.
you put it on the spreadsheet. It's like going to drive you crazy. But whatever will give you the best access and comfort to not drive you crazy. See,
Mhm.
one day I was, I said on the list that one of them is to put um, my speaker bag together, and it's just a tote bag, and I only use it for speaking engagements. And I've told this story before, but what happened is it was on my desk, and Mondays, for years I've taken off Mondays, and it was sitting there. I don't just have any appointments. My assistant doesn't come in. She did it on Friday, and I sat down at my computer in my PJs, and I look over, and there's my bag. And I went, holy moly, right? And I looked at my calendar, and sure enough, I had a speaking engagement. And sure enough, I was late. And sure enough, it was an optional shower day. As I got dressed, and lucky thing, it was local. It was like 20 minutes away or something. I got dressed. I called her up and said, oh, I apologize. I'm going to be late. I can either do this another day. It was for EDD, right? The Department of whatever EDD stands for, right? Employment Department,
Yeah.
right?
Employment equity or something. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I got dressed, drove out there, and went. So if that wasn't on my table, I would have missed that speaking engagement and that opportunity. And that was one of the opportunities. It was a networking thing. I taught them a little bit of networking. It was people that were coming there because they were unemployed. They needed help in getting employment, and a lot of them were down and out. They were their whole their whole self was wrapped up in their job, right?
Mhm.
Their whole identity. And I
Yeah.
know, and talk about true confessions. People were coming up to me at the end and telling me, like they lost their job, then they turned to the bottle, and blah, 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 and now they're cleaning up. I mean, it was fascinating that they were that vulnerable, that they were just sharing in person. I mean, they would come up to me at the end, get a book or whatever and talk to me privately. It's not like they did it in front of the group. I'll never forget one guy came up to me and he just got out of prison. And he shared with me that when he was a teenager, he got molested. And so that's what he did. And he did time for it. And, I just looked at him with my heart full. And he turned over to Christ and told me about his relationship with God. And I just looked at him and told him, you you never have to share that story again. You never have to live that story again.
Mhm.
God's forgiven you. You served your time. Go out and live your life today, you know? And, the look on his face, and it was like, I feel like God spoke through me. It wasn't like I'm some, psychiatrist know-it-all, but I was moved to share. I'm like, you've paid
Yeah.
paid the price. It's okay, right?
Mhm.
Forgive yourself. In other words, forgive yourself. And I just got chills. But I just feel like, if I had not had that speaker bag there, if I had not, insisted on going shower or no shower, that wouldn't have happened. None of those, people that came up to me that shared their vulnerability with me, and I was able to, um, minister a little bit, none of that would have happened. So, you just never know how God's going to use you or when he's going to use you. But guess what? God doesn't care about the shower.
No, no.
And they
Uh,
didn't either.
would you also include the podcasts in that?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
That these were yellow folders were anything but physical. So
Yeah.
podcast, Zoom, virtual, anything virtual,
Yeah.
yellow.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That way I knew that I didn't physically go out there. So I wasn't like searching, like, where is it? Where's the address? You know. And then this is, oh, that's not the same thing. Oh, I thought. Anyway, and then again, I encourage you to put them on some sort of tracking device like a spreadsheet. That's
Mhm.
where you see everything,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
can't print that out because mine went on, I would have to tape it together if I
Yeah.
wanted to pull it out. So don't worry about that. That's for you in the computer for you to look at and, go through once every few months or something and see if there's somebody you should follow up with and ask again.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So great job, Carol. Who else had a system that they're already using that they want to share? Okay, Dr. Renee?
Okay. Oh, great presentation, Arvee. I love your systems, and it's the foundation of my business. So I just want to share that. One of the things I do after an event, especially if it's a paid one, is I send them a thank you note, and not any kind of thank you note. I usually send it in purple, a purple envelope
Fran?
like this, just a regular purple envelope, and I send them another one because anything that's with a color on it. So this is the envelope. It has matching paper. This is paper. This is turquoise. It has matching envelopes too. So this is what I can pull out. So whether it's in an office or something like that, I always send them flowers. It's just what I do, a little something. I get to know who they are. Can they eat dark chocolate or milk chocolate? And I do this in a way that, they've already given me a deposit. They sent me a lot of accolades, which is great. But I text them and say, thank you so much for your business. And then afterwards, within 3 days, maybe 4, I send a box of chocolates and flowers and things like that. So that has helped me a lot. Another thing in this day and age, I don't know why, I go to networking events and networking events, but also for people who want me to do a speaking thing. And I'll call them and they don't pick up the phone. Nobody picks up the phone. I'll send a text to verify something. This is is this the correct address? I want to make sure there's many people. They don't return texts. So many people don't return an email if it's a free event. They just take it for granted, whether it's a church or I'm doing it for a women's shelter. They take it for granted. And I don't know it's because they're not business people. They just don't. And in general, people don't answer the phone. I answer the phone because my phone number is all over the place. And so if I don't answer the phone, I don't make money. So if I don't answer the phone, I have somebody who helps me. It rolls into their phone. So the phone is always answered. So I always find that answering the phone is your ATM machine. And because of, thank you. So one of the things I've learned, and I have this in an agreement, if whether I get paid or if I'm not getting paid, I'll tell them it's $5,000. And what I'm doing is I'm giving it back as if they're a 501c3 or something like that, so they know the value of who I am and what the benefit and features are for the people who are listening, whether they're homeless people or battered women in a shelter or they're homeless, whatever it is. The people who are the event planners will know, boy, we're having a $5,000 an hour speaker. I just pull that number out. And I get more respect, and it's a piece of paper that the event planner actually signs. I give her a copy of it. I keep a copy. So they're like, oh, this is just not somebody who's speaking at the Optimist Club or the Rotary for free, and they just take it for granted. So I also have done it with Rotary as well, because people just don't answer their phone. Why? I have no idea. I found that in BNI. I went to a BNI meeting, and they want me to join. I called up 5 people, I had 5 cards, called them, texted them to say hello, let's have a cup of coffee, even on Zoom. Nobody, one person returned my call on Sunday, and this meeting was on Wednesday morning at 6:30 in the morning. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, no wonder they're struggling in their business, because they don't answer the phone, they don't answer texts. So I don't even know why they give me a card, because they don't answer the phone.
Right. Why are they even at the networking event?
At that early in the morning, and they pride themselves they're on time, so who cares? And so do I want to be part of that group? Probably not. It's just, and I don't want to go into it, it's not important to this audience. So I do, that's a little bit of a thing. If you want to charge, you're not charging them $5,000. They're just saying it keeps their alert. I said, wow, what's this? I said, no, I'm doing this complimentary because I'm doing this to donate or something like that. So they see the value.
Now, the thing you have them sign, is that a speaker contract?
It's a speaker agreement, yes. It's a speaker agreement.
Valued at that, but you're waiving the value?
Correct. And when they see that and I have it crossed off, and I'll do this, if I see them in person, because I want to see the venue first where I'm speaking, I will show up and I'll actually cross it off. And then I'll put my initials there and they put their initials there. It just makes it a little bit more official. Because like I said, they're not business people, and when they see my signature there, I put a little smiley face. It's not as intimidating, but I'm a person of business. Now, obviously, when I have a paid gig, it's a little bit different. Am I selling books there, or am I allowed to do that? Is there other speakers? Do I get 100% of the books, the sales of my books? And I get a little bit more in detail.
Yeah, and also usually when they pay you, oftentimes they've got the agreement that they're giving you.
Yes. Often it is. Often it is. I always have something signed though that we both have. I like the paperwork. I like emails back and forth, and this is what we agreed upon. Or then if I forget, I always have my phone that I record it on Temi if we're doing a Zoom, or I do Zoom recording, and then I'll send them a transcript as an executive summary. This is what we just talked about. Because you're saying you're having 80 people or 180 people, and is this correct? And they'll say yes. And so I record it, and then the transcript is almost as good as an agreement. But I just for official, so they feel official, I'll have them sign anyways.
Very nice. Thank you. Very
You're
good.
welcome.
Very good information. Okay, I hope all of you wrote that down. That was gold. All right. Anybody else want to talk about what they're doing, their systems? Yes, Katrina. You're muted.
I wouldn't call it a system, but the way I do it is I if I spoke for like a ministry, like I speak for wives only, wherever my notes are that I did for the speech, I just put it in that folder for wives only. And then if I spoke for CBP, then I would put it in the folder for CBP. And when I'm looking for a speech, I don't remember what or where I spoke and what the date was for sure, or how long ago I spoke.
Right. So now now you'll just add that or make a spreadsheet and just add it to the spreadsheet as soon as you have that speaking engagement.
Okay.
Don't wait.
Mhm.
Yeah, because you can always delete it if something happens, but just as soon as you're all excited about it, that should be part of your just kind of what you do to get ready for that speaking engagement. Put it on the list. Yeah,
Thank you. This has been wonderful. Thank you.
good. You're welcome. All right. Anything else?
I
Colleen?
kind of keep everything together in one folder. Like I do presentations maybe 2 or 3 times a year to my senior group that I lead, mental health and things like that. If I speak in a breakout group in my church during a women's conference, I put that in there. Um, if I'm asked to speak about something, I usually put it in a notebook, and because I'm referring back to my notes and I'm making my notes. Like I was kind of put on the spot. Over the weekend, I went up to a wedding to New York, and my daughter asked me on Sunday afternoon to come attend their women's fellowship before I left out that evening. And so a speaker canceled. So she wanted to know if I could step in. So at first I was, I took her back somewhat. And then I said, well, wait a minute. I remember what my speaker teacher said. I remember what Arvee said to myself. I'm speaking to myself, that I have my elevator speech, I have my opening, just go in with that. And don't turn down anything because it's an opportunity to build on my skills, the practice. So I said yes. And the way it turned out was they asked me to open up in prayer. So I prayed for the group. And then later on, because they had different activities, but later on, I had about 3 minutes. They had about 2 or 3 minutes left because we had to kind of get out of that place. And so I just opened it up with I'm Caldine Ray and I speak to women, um and I didn't talk about any of, what I have, like my LLC, or I didn't say any of that. I just wanted to be with the women and authentic. I wanted to just be like that. And so I just went into, may I share my story? A little bit of my story. And the ladies were like, yes. I didn't put my hand up. I said, is it all right if I share? And so I shared a little bit of my story. So I did it all in maybe 2 to 3 minutes. And so what I wanted to know, I wanted to say that, and that's how I collect everything. And it was like a last minute thing, but I didn't back out. I went forward, and I did say to them, I'm part of a speaking class, and my speaking teacher, she encourages us to speak, and I thank them for the opportunity. So here in Charlotte, there's a non-for-profit radio show station, right? Thank you. Radio station. And they're looking for nonprofits and LLCs to come and share what they do. So my question to you is, do I just begin with I'm Caldine Ray and what I do, and then go into I'm an LLC, I'm a small business owner, go into that. And instead of, I'm going to leave out my story because I'm on a radio station and I'm sure I have very few minutes. And then I'm going to go into, I'm an international speaker, just those things. Do I follow that format?
How much time do you have?
Not sure. I have an interview with them, but I'm certain it's not going to be more than 3 to 5 minutes because it's going to be ongoing. They're just going to advertise me on an ongoing basis, a daily basis.
Okay. So that's something we always need to find out the minute they're talking to us about something like that. I mean, you've obviously had a conversation with them. You have to find out the time
Okay.
because
Okay.
that's hard for me to tell you what, because my feeling is your story is the most important, right?
Okay.
But if it's an advertisement where they're just saying, here you are, a
Right.
coach
That's
and
what it is.
international speaker and stuff like that. But why would anybody be interested if they haven't heard your story?
Ex- That's true. That's true. So that's what I'm kind of having a conflict about, because I was just going to say what I do in terms of speaking to women, about the power of God, the power of God's word and things like that, and
Well,
then talk
why don't
about my credentials and what I do, and then say to them, if I have inspired you, and remember, um, your past does not dictate your future. So I'm just trying to figure out how should I organize that.
well, I would organize it like how you learned how to organize
Yeah,
your core message.
yeah, I was gonna go back.
The 30-second.
Go back. Okay,
And if you think you have more than 30 seconds, then where the wild card goes, that's where I would put a little bit more about you and your story and what you do. But
okay,
right now, Claudine, it is important for you to find out how much time you have.
time.
Because
Okay,
if it is, I don't care if it's radio, I don't care what it is, but you have so much time, you want to use all of it that you can,
okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Can't go over either way.
Mm-hmm.
So use all of it. You might find that you have a lot more time than you think you have. So that's what
Okay,
I
I'll
would get
speak with
on
her
that phone
tomorrow.
immediately
Yeah, tomorrow morning.
and tell them you're delighted, you're excited, you're preparing. And
Right.
so you can be prepared, you want to know how much time you have. And then
Okay.
you want to then call me because it's hard for me to advise you when I don't know how much time you have.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, then just call me and we'll talk about it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad for your opportunity and make
Thank
sure
you.
that's a speaking opportunity. Even interviews or speaking opportunities, podcasts, all of it. So record that.
Okay, I will.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect. And
All right.
another reason why we want to record, okay, when I didn't mention, is because a lot of you in the beginning of the year created speaker goals, right? You're going to do 80 this year or 50 this year. Well, it's a great way to keep track. That spreadsheet's a great way to keep track. Okay? Easy way to keep that count. It's motivating. Okay. All right. So we're going to end our call today. We're a couple minutes early. Dr. Luana, is there anything else you want to share today? No? Okay. Just know
No,
you're
thank you. Just being here, I needed to get back out. I need to get back out, I should say. But I'm doing it slow, not pushing myself. So,
right. Take your time.
mhm.
Take your time. Okay, so we'll be here next week, and then Dawn and I are going to the Philippines for a month. So we'll be gone the month of April. So come next week because it'll be the last one for a while. All right, we're gonna go on vacation.
You're gonna celebrate my birthday in the Philippines, huh?
Yes, we will. When's your birthday?
April 4th.
April 4th. Yeah, we'll be gone on the 2nd.
Mine's is the 18th.
Oh, a lot of April babies. Lot.
Yeah, I got son, grandson, and a great grandson. All April babies.
Nice. Okay, ladies. Well, thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you
Thank
next
you. Thank you, Arvee.
Day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.